the command line to-do list. With this project, we can be able to track our daily activities like places we need to go, things we need to buy, or tasks that we need to complete. So instead of having to write your to-do list in a paper, you can use this simple command line to-do list to manage your task. And for this project, we're going to be creating a file. And for this file, we're going to call it a to-do list .txt. We're going to be using a text-based file to store our task. And we're also going to be using 4 functions. The first function is going to load task for us. The second function is going to be used to save task. The third one is going to list out the task in our to-do list. And then the last function is going to run the program, so we can call it main. So first of all, I'm going to start by creating a to-do txt file. So I'm going to head over to the Explorer and I'm going to be creating a to-do.txt file. So I'm going to click here and type to-do.txt. So this is the file that is going to be containing our tasks. So I'm going to start by creating the first function and we're going to call this function load tasks. So here we have def load tasks. And I'm going to put a placeholder in this function. So let's put pass there. The second function is going to be a save task function. So let's call it def save task. And for this function, it is going to contain a parameter named tasks. And we're also going to put a placeholder there. So let's just put pass there. Then the next function is going to be used to list out all the tasks in the to-do.txt file. So here we have list tasks. And here I'm going to pass in task as a parameter. So here we have tasks. And I'm also going to put a placeholder there. Then next, I'm going to be creating our main function and I'm going to write def main. And I'm also going to put a placeholder there. So have pass. So I'm going to be starting with the first function, which is load task. And basically what this function does is to read the to-do.txt file. And I'm going to be putting this inside of a try except block so that if the file is for one reason or the other moved from the current location, the program will not crash. So here I'm going to have try, and inside of this try block, I'm going to be using a context manager to read the to-do.txt file. So I'm going to have with open. Here I'm going to be providing the path, which is to-do.txt. And I'm going to be providing the access mode, which is R. Then we have as file. Next, I'm going to return the lines inside of the to-do.txt file. So here I'm going to have return, and I'm going to use a list comprehension to iterate through all the lines in the to-do.txt file and remove the white spaces in the lines. So here I'm going to have line.strip, and I'm going to have for line in file. So this is going to return the entire lines inside of the to-do.txt file. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to provide the except block. So here we have except, and we're targeting file not found error. So we have file not found error. And in a situation whereby the file that we're trying to read is not available in the specified location, it should print a message. So we can simply write print file not found. So with this, we're done with the load task. Then the next function we're going to treat is the function that save task. And for this function, we're also going to be using the context manager. So we have with open. Here we're going to specify the path, which is to-do.txt. And I'm going to be providing the access mode. Since we don't want to overwrite the contents of the file whenever we perform a save operation, I'm going to be accessing this file using the A mode. So here we have A, and I'm going to have as file. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to be writing the task into the file, each task in one line. So here I'm going to have file.write, and here I'm going to have an escape sequence for a new line, and I'm going to be using the join method of the string. So here I'm going to have join. Here I'm going to put the tasks. So this is essentially what this function is going to do, just to append task into our todo.txt file. Then next, we're going to write a function that is going to list out all the tasks available in the todo.txt file. And we're going to start with a situation whereby no task is available in the file. So we can write if not task. Then we can print this message, print no task available. Something like this can serve. And the next thing we're going to do is a situation whereby there are tasks inside the file. So we're going to be using the else clause. And for this else clause, we're going to first of all print a message, task. So here we have print. I can put this in capital letters. So have task. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to print out all the tasks available, giving them numbers starting from 1. Typically, content of a file behaves like sequences in Python, starting with the index of 0. So for the situation whereby you want to start from 1, then you have to make a little modification on how you access the lines inside of the file. So first of all, I'm going to assign index to be equal to 1. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to loop through the task inside of the file. So here we have for task in task. Then I'm going to list out those tasks starting from 1. So here I'm going to have print, and I'm going to be using an F string for this, and I'm going to provide a placeholder and put index, then put a full stop. Then I can now put the task. So here I'm going to put the second placeholder and put task. Then I'm going to increment the index. So what I'm going to do now is that I'm going to have index plus equal to 1 to increment the index. So this is how we list out task. And now we'll look at the main function. This is the function that runs the to-do list program. So first of all, we're going to load the task. So we're going to start by saying task is equal to load task. That is the first thing we're going to do. So the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to perform an indefinite loop. And in the course of this indefinite loop, we're going to present a message telling you to choose what you want to do with regards to the to-do list program. Whether you want to see all the tasks available, whether you want to save a task, whether you want to remove a task. So what this is essentially what this main function does. So now we're going to have while true. And the first thing we're going to do is to print a welcome message. So for our welcome message, we're going to write print. And here we can call it to do, let me use capital, lists application, or can call it program. And we can just have welcome to our to-do list program. Then the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to list out a prompt telling you enter 1 if you want to do this, or enter 2 if you want to do another task. So let's start by printing the first one, which is if you want to add task in our todo.txt file. So here I'm going to write print, and I'm going to use 1. And for this one, If you want to add task, you simply enter 1. So this is add task. Then if you want to list out all the tasks, you press 2 or you enter 2. So here we have print. And for the message, we're going to have 2 here. This one is for listing out tasks. So we can say list tasks. Then the next information to provide to the user is what to impute if they want to remove task. So here we have print. Here we're going to have 3. And 3 is for removing task. So we have remove task. Then the next thing again is if you want to quit the program, you press or you enter 4. Here we have print and we have 4, and 4 is to quit the program. So this is going to provide a guide to users that want to use to-do list program. Then the next thing we're going to do is to provide a variable that is going to hold the choice. And this choice is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you enter 1, it is going to be for adding task. If you enter 2, it is to list out task. If you enter 3, it is to remove task. And if you enter 4, it is to quit the program. So we can call this choice is equal to, and we're going to be using input to receive this data. So have input, and for the message to be shown, we can say enter your choice, and the choice is 1 to 4. So we have 1 to 4. And we may want to remove any white spaces. For instance, somebody may enter 1 and put a space. So in order for that space not to cause our program to fail, we're going to use the strip method to remove the white spaces. So I'm going to wrap this input inside parentheses, and then I'm going to use strip method. So this is going to remove all the white spaces. Then the next thing I'm going to do is determine what happens when user enters their choices. So we're going to start with choice 1. So if choice is equal to 1, what happens? So if a user enters choice 1, it means that the user wants to add a task. So we're going to start by defining the task. So we have new task is equal to, and for the new task, we're also going to prompt the user to provide the task that they want to store in our to-do.txt file. So we have input. Here we're going to give a prompt, provide information about the type of information that is expected from the user. So we can have it as enter the new task. And then we can also use strip to remove the white spaces. So I can wrap this around parentheses and use the strip method to remove the white spaces. So if the user enters the task, we want to append that task to our already defined task. So you can see from the beginning of this function that we already have task here. So if you enter a new task, we append it to the task. So what we're going to do now is if new task, that is if user enters a task, then this is what is going to happen. So we're going to have task dot append, and we're going to be appending the new task. Then after appending the new task, then we want to save the task. So here I'm going to have save task, and then I'm going to be passing the task as my argument. So with this, I can be able to save the task. And I can also provide a message so that the user knows that the task has been saved. So here I can have print, and we'll have task has been saved. Okay, so this is a situation whereby the user provides a task. So if the user doesn't provide a task, what happens? So we're going to have an else clause, and in this else clause, we're going to notify the user that no task was entered. So here we have print, no task was entered. Okay, so this is for choice 1. So now we're going to look at choice 2, and we're going to be using the elif for this. So here we have elif choice is equal to 2. So when the user enters 2, it means that the person wants to see the entire task. So the next thing we're going to do is to list out the task, and we're going to be using the list task function for this. So here we have list task, and we pass in task as argument. So here we have tasks. Then next, we're going to be looking at when the user enters choice 3. So here we have elif choice is equal to 3. So in the situation whereby the user enters 3, it means that the user wants to remove a given task. So first of all, we're going to be using a try except block to ensure that if user makes a wrong choice in input, it doesn't disrupt the program. So if the user enters 3, it means that they want to remove a task. So we're going to start by listing out the task. So the user can see all the tasks numbered and then enter the task that they want to remove. So we're going to write list task, and then we'll pass in task as our argument. Next, we're going to be using the try except block to ensure that our program is not disrupted if the user enters a wrong number. So we have try, and inside this try block, we're going to have our index. And this index has to correspond to the line number for the task that we want to remove. So here I'm going to have input, and for the input, we want to give a message, enter the task number that you want to remove. And I'm also going to convert this to an integer because we're expecting a number. So I'm going to put int here. Next, I'm going to be removing the line using the pop method. So I can call this removed is equal to task dot pop. And here we're going to be using index -1. Remember that our index, we added it 1 initially since we're starting our numbering from 1. So if you want to make reference to the actual index, you have to subtract 1 from it. So now we're going to save our task, and we have save task, and then we'll pass in the task as our argument. Then afterwards, we're going to print a message showing that the task has been removed. So we can write print, and for this I'm going to be using an f string, and here I'm going to say removed, and here I'm going to provide the task that is removed. So we can put remove there. So the next thing I'm going to do is to provide the except block. So here we have the except, and we're targeting value error. So here we have value error, and for the message we're going to print please enter a valid number. So we have print please enter a valid number. Then finally we're going to look at when the user enters choice 4, and for this I'm going to have elif choice is equal to 4. So if the choice is equal to 4, it means that the user wants to quit the program. So we can print a goodbye message to the user. So have print, and we can have goodbye, and the program quits. Then I'm going to put a break statement here to terminate the while loop. Then finally, I'm going to put an else clause in case the user makes an invalid choice. So have else, and for the message, we're going to print please enter a valid choice. And with this, we've successfully written a to-do list program. So let's go ahead and try out this program to see whether it is working as expected. So now I'm going to start by calling the main function. So here we have main. And for this function, I'm going to run it from terminal. So run Python file. So you can see the welcome message. Welcome to our to-do list program. 1 to add task, 2 to list out task, 3 to remove task, and 4 to quit. So let's start with the 1. So I can write 1 here. enter the task, I can write read for 15 minutes and hit enter. And as you can see, the task has been saved. So if we want to see the task, I can simply enter 2. So 2 is going to list out all the tasks in the to-do list. So here you can see 1, read for 15 minutes. So let's add another task, and this one I'm going to put 1, and for the second task I'm going to put running, and this has been saved. So let's see the list of our task. I'll press 2. You can see we have read for 15 minutes, running. Then I can add another task, so I can simply put 1 here, and for this I'm going to enter cook and hit enter. So if I want to see the task, I can enter 2, and now you can see I have read for 15 minutes, running, and cook. So if I want to remove task, I'll simply press 3, and it is going to ask me which task do I want to remove. So we have read for 15 minutes, running, and cooking. So let's remove the third one. So I'm going to put 3. And let's go ahead and list out the task to see whether cook was removed. So I'm going to put 2. So now we have only 2 tasks there, which is read for 15 minutes and running. So this is how you can create a simple to-do list task on the terminal using Python.